Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name is Peter Faciano. Today I have another WhiskeyTube Sample Swap video for you. Today I have a flight presented to me or given to me from Tom over at the Bourbon Jerk. If you're not familiar with this series, a whiskey channel and I swapped samples. Today I've got a jerky journey from Tom over at the Bourbon Jerk. And then I sent him 6 samples of a flight called Lost in the Woods. I'm thinking or hoping that we drop these videos around the same time. He might end up doing his flight that I gave him on a live stream, but he also might pre-record it. I'm not exactly sure what his plans are, but whatever the case may be, all of the links to all of the WhiskeyTube sample swaps that I've done so far are in the link in the description below. I've done one with Carlos. Please go check out the one that I sent him. And then Spirited Reviews sent me 18 samples, and I recorded my 3-part series with them. All 3 of those videos are also in the description below, along with their flights that I did and sent them. Please go to the other channels and watch them taste through the samples that I gave them. So if you're new to the channel and you're not subscribed and you end up liking what I'm doing here, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, turn that bell notification on because I produce videos 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I just got a whole bunch of Tootsie Roll coming out of this glass. So I'm gonna nose and taste each one, jot down some notes. I'm going to try to attempt to indicate what type of whiskey it is, whether it's finished, maybe the proof, and then by the time I get finished with this, I'll have an idea of which one I like the most. All right, this is heavily berry forward, along with some chocolate Tootsie Roll notes. Very low spice. It smells amazing. All of those typical bourbon notes are here, so I'm guessing sample number 1 is a bourbon. I'll know a little bit more when I taste it. But there's also a really good amount of cherry coming through. So on the nose, this would be dark berries, cherry, Tootsie Roll, chocolate, and typical bourbon notes. So let me go ahead and get it on the palate, and fitting as it may be, sample number 1 is out of the Bourbon Jerk Glencairn. So cheers, everybody. Holy cow, right out of the gate. This is amazing. All of those notes that were coming through on the nose are definitely coming through on the palate. This is chocolatey. It's berry sweet. I'm saying this is a bourbon. My mouth is like watering like crazy, so I apologize for that. It's lighting me up a little bit, so I'm guessing it's gonna be a little bit above 110 proof, but as I'm talking, this finish is going on forever. There is a good amount of oak, and if you've been here for a while, you know I do like a little bit of a bitter oak note that sinks in underneath the tongue. It gets to a certain point, and I want it to stop, and this has hit that point, and it is resting rather nice. It's sweet. There's more spice on the palate than there is on the nose, which was surprising. That kind of took me by surprise. That could also be the proof. I think, again, my very first sip, this is 110 or higher. I'm saying that it's a bourbon, and my guess is it's not finished. Let me get that all written down, get a glass of water to calm my palate down, and then move on to glass number 2. All right, I gotta tell you, that glass number 1, sample number 1, was phenomenal. All right, let's go ahead and move on to sample number 2. Sample number 2 is more fruity on the nose than sample 1. It's more cherry forward, almost 0 spice on the nose. I gotta coat this a little bit. There's a little bit of a pine forest kind of coming through here. So maybe a high rye bourbon or a rye, but it doesn't have pronounced rye notes. All right, on that second nosing, it's burning the nose a little bit. I do get a little bit more of a red Jolly Rancher, like a strong strawberry Jolly Rancher, and a little bit of pepper and a little bit of pine note is coming through. I didn't get any pine in here. So initially, probably a high rye bourbon and probably 110 proof or more. Just the way that it's stinging the nose. So let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate and see what it's like. Man, holy crap, that's good too. Wow. More spice, more rye spice, more rye forward. I'm changing my mind. I think this is a rye, not a bourbon. A good dominant red cherry Jolly Rancher is coming through on the palate. Not getting a whole lot of oak or oak bitterness on the side of the tongue. This is just spicy from the arrival to mid palate to finish. That spice forward plus that pine note makes me lean a little bit more towards a rye than a bourbon, but this also could be right there as a high rye bourbon because I'm not getting overpowering notes of pine. Another very, very good pour. As I'm sitting here, the oak might be sinking in a little bit more. That spice is consistent all the way through the palate. And then on the very back end, I would say there's oak and cherry. I think that's where the oak and the sweetness from this is actually standing out, is on the finish. I am going to just stick with a rye. I don't think it's finished, and 110 proof. Let me get that stuff written down, and then we'll move on to glass number 3. All right, so as I was writing down my notes for sample number 2, that finish became very, very oaky in a good way. It wasn't drying and it wasn't bitter, but it had a very oaky finish, and it just kind of latched on. It didn't go anywhere. As I was writing my notes, I was taking my time waiting for the finish to just fall off, and it really never did. So sample 2 had an extremely long finish. All right, sample number 3. Again, smells like a bourbon. I mean, initial thoughts. Bourbon has, for me, a very distinct brown sugar, caramel, and vanilla note. Every once in a while, it'll have a pronounced cherry note as well. And it is much darker than the first 2 as well. Maybe a little bit higher on the spice notes, like a pickled ginger or a pepper, white pepper, black pepper, but not nearly as sweet as the first 2. Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't think glass 3 is as vibrant as either of the first 2 samples. It is oaky. I'm not getting much rye spice. I'm not getting pine tree. Those bourbon notes are there. Maybe a very small hint of cola. It's much more subdued on the nose. Maybe it'll explode on the palate. So let me get this thing on the palate. Cheers, everybody. Sample 3. Sample 3 is a little bit more drying than the first 2. I'm also getting bit a little bit with the heat, so I'm guessing this is probably going to be a little bit hotter, maybe around the 120. And there is definitely more spice, pepper, and pickled ginger coming through on the palate than anything so far. I'm having a hard time figuring out whether or not this is bourbon or rye, but I think it has aspects of both. I think I'm getting rye spice in here, minus the pine or the peppermint or any of those key signatures that a rye has. Maybe I'm leaning more towards bourbon. I think it's more oak forward than the other 2. And again, I think there is a mocha, coffee, chocolate, cola note in here that the other 2 maybe didn't have as much of. Still very good. So let me get that written down. I don't think sample number 3 is as vibrant as the other 2, but still no slouch. It's very good. Let me get that stuff written down and then move on to sample 4. All right, just to clarify, as I was writing those notes down, I'm sticking with bourbon. I think it's around 120 proof. I don't think it's finished unless we classify something as toasted, as a toasted finish, because there's something in there, maybe that Dr. Pepper, that flat Dr. Pepper that I'm getting, maybe is an indication of some type of finish. So just to throw it out there, I think it's finished. 120 proof, and it's a bourbon. It's oak forward, flat Dr. Pepper with some spice. Very good. Do get some sweet notes, but I think there's a good balance of sweet and spice. I think the spice might be somewhere around the Christmas spices. Slight amount of cherry. All indications just on the nose, it's a bourbon. And again, it's hitting my nose pretty flat, so maybe not as high proof as the others. But that obviously can change on the palate. Boy, but I tell you what, this smells good also. All right, let's go ahead and get it on the palate. All right, as it hit the palate, I'm definitely changing my mind on the proof. I'm saying another 120 proof. I think it's bourbon. It's coming across as very chocolate forward, Good amount of spice, black pepper spice, not a whole lot of sweet. I definitely think this is more towards the spice category than it is the sweet category. It's oaky, and then on the finish, there is a slight amount of cherry that's coming through. I'm also getting some red apple. Let me write all that down, and then we'll move on to sample 5. All right, here we go, sample number 5. Sample 5. Again, apple forward. I want to say again because this one had an apple finish and this one is jumping out of the glass as apple forward. So I don't know if I still have a little bit of the finish on this. But yeah, red apple, vanilla, not so much brown sugar, but maybe a little bit of honey. This does smell pretty balanced with sweet and spice on the nose. Smells a little proofy, it's stinging the nose. And lots of oak. All right, let's get it on the palate. So this is a fruit bomb. It's apples, it's cherry, a little bit of pear. It is spicy, it is proofy. That oak note is hitting the mid palate pretty good, but there's no bitterness, no dryness. Good balance of sweet and spice. I think bourbon. And I also think that this is pretty high in proof as well. Probably about 124. Let's just bump it up, 124. I'm not getting cola notes, but there is a good chocolate note coming through. Again, this is spectacular. Every single one of these things has been really good. Finish is lingering around quite a bit. There is a little bit of bitterness and drying, but nothing that's going to detract from the overall experience. And gosh, that fruit note, the apple and the pear, that's really good. Yeah, there's something a little bit funky on the finish that I can't quite put my finger on. But there's something happening there. So I'm wondering if this has some sort of finish to it, or if it has something to do with the barrel that it was aged in, because it doesn't have the same finish that any of these others had. I don't want to say that it is finished, but there's something different about this one. Maybe this is a little bit more crafty than the others, but it is still very good. I'm going to say bourbon. I'm going to say 124 proof. It's not finished. And again, I think this one probably has the most perfect balance of sweet and spice. It's not my favorite. I think that finish is kind of knocking it down a couple of notches, but that's kind of where I'm at with this. Let me write that down, get some water, let my palate rest a little bit, and we'll move on to the final sample before I do the reveal. All right, here we go. Last sample. This last sample is dark. It's almost as dark as sample number 3. I don't know if that comes across on camera or not, but this is definitely much darker than the others. All right, a little bit of rye note is coming through this one as well. Comes across as pretty oaky. Yeah, oak, rye. Maybe bourbon. I think those vanilla and brown sugar and caramel notes are coming through on the nose. It is spice. And again, it might just be the progression of this, but the funkiness that I was getting in this on the finish is also coming through on the nose with this. So I don't know if that's just residual or if this is actually what I'm getting. It is fruity, maybe some berries, some cherries, red fruit, but it's not apple or pear like sample number 5. There is a spiciness to this, almost to the point where it's like peppermint, but not peppermint into peppermint like a rye has. Crafty, peppermint, pepper, oak. Not getting a whole lot of stinging on the nose. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate. I'm going to repeat myself here, but holy crap, is this good as well? I'm saying that this is a bourbon. I think those are traditional bourbon notes. It's heavy on the coffee and the oak. This has a lot of complexity, probably the most complex of all of them so far. There's coffee, there's chocolate, there's spice, there's vanilla. There is a little bit of a cinnamon note or a peppermint note. Maybe that's a peppermint spice that's coming across on the palate. Again, a flat Dr. Pepper note is coming through. Slight amount of cherry. I would say this is a berry medley. That sweetened spice along with the oak, I think is probably pretty well balanced as well. This is delicious. I think glass number 6 is going to be my favorite, but they have all been very good. Good amount of spice, good amount of sweetness. Yeah, this is tough. I don't know if I can act. Oh, there's a little bit of like a dark chocolate cherry note that just kicked in at the very far back end. I was just about to say I don't know if I can actually choose which one my favorite is, but I'm going to rank glass number 6 as my favorite. I don't know if I can rank any of the others just because they're so close, but I would say that maybe my favorite would be glass number 6 and my least favorite, but being my least favorite is not any knock on any of these, but if I had to put something in last place, it would be glass number 2. So yeah, let me get my notes down for glass number 6 and then do the reveal. I'm going to be very interested to see. Yeah, this one's getting tobacco-y, chocolate, leather. Yeah, let me go ahead and get my notes down and then do the reveal. I hope you guys are still here. All right, so I don't know if I said this before I started writing it down, but I'm going to stick with a bourbon. I said it's 110. I don't think it's finished. And I said this was chocolate, tobacco, leather, good balance of sweet and spice, good oak. Overall, the most complex or the one that had the most depth. That's what I'm saying here. So let's go ahead and get to the reveal on this. It looks like it's not a sheet of paper. Everything else gone. Everything is out. So again, Tom from the Bourbon Jerk, Peter's Jerky Journey, Blind Flight Answer Key. All right. Again, Bourbon Jerk, thank you very much, Tom. I really appreciate this. This was really good. Whatever you sent me has been absolutely fantastic. Looks like 4's got a lot written down on it. So let's go ahead and go with number 1. Number 1 was JT Mellick Small Batch High Proof 100% Rice Whiskey distilled in Louisiana, 118 proof. Well, messed up that one completely. That's crazy. That's like a bourbon. If you guys have ever had any of the rice whiskeys, let me know in the comments down below if it has tricked you like it tricked me with being a bourbon. All right, now I'm worried about the others. So if that was a rice whiskey and I didn't pick that up, I don't know. So sample number 2. This was Michter's Barrel Strength Rye 2025. This is 109.4 proof. I think the only thing I got was a rye. So I said it was a rye, 110 proof. Oh, 109.4 proof. So I was close there. Not finished. This is the 2025. So number 3. Number 3, we've got Traverse City Whiskey Company Barrel Proof Cherry Heritage Edition Bourbon infused with, what is that? Montmorency cherries? Montmorency cherries? I don't know what that is. And then 10-year bourbon, MGP base, 109.6 proof. And I said bourbon 120. And finished, I said it was finished, but I thought maybe it would have been like a toasted finished. So, yeah, I guess bourbon is the only thing I got on that one. Reveal number 4, sample number 4. This is Evernorth Spirits, single barrel pick, Andre the Giant's Cherry River, Dusty Dan, Hello Again, Whiskey Friends, Bourbon Jerk, Drifting Drams, World's Worst Bourbon Channel. So this is a pick from them. 6-year Green River Bourbon, 74% corn, 16% rye, 10% malted barley, 130 proof. Holy cow. And I said this was 120. Wow. Okay. That is way off base, but good nonetheless. All right. Moving on to sample number 5. So number 5, this is the Hard Truth single barrel pick, the Franchi Bunch, Dusty Dan, Hello Again, Whiskey Friends, World's Worst Bourbon Channel. So that's their pick. It's a 4-year and it's 119.9 proof. Is this a bourbon or a rye? Doesn't really say. Oh, no, yeah, it doesn't say. Last one. This one was my favorite. What was it? This is the Peerless Bourbon Single Barrel Pick Bigfoot Bourbon Mash and Journey, 114.8 proof. That was fantastic. 114, I said 110, and this was chocolate, tobacco, leather, spice, oak. Yeah, this was just absolutely fantastic. Wow. So before I sign off here, again, Bourbon Jerk, do me a favor, head over to his channel. I'm going to put a link to his video when he does my flight that I sent him in the description below, along with all of the other WhiskeyTube sample swaps that I have done up to this point. Like, subscribe, share, do all those things that YouTubers ask you to do. If you're interested in my giveaway, all the rules to that giveaway are in the description below. Go check out Tom's channel at the Bourbon Jerk. It'll be worth your while. If you like what he's doing over there, subscribe to his channel. This is fantastic. Thank you very much. Reach out to your other WhiskeyTube channels and ask them to do the same thing. So wherever you are at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it, because this is incredibly enjoyable for me. And I'll talk to everybody later. Bye.